All right, everybody. Well, hey, we are back with our next session here, and you are in for a treat. Absolutely a rock star. I like to call her the hardest working person in social media because this lady goes above and beyond. And I met her originally, I think, 4 years ago at Podfest. And I was like, who is this lady who's crawling underneath tripods, under chairs to get photos of the speakers as she was helping promote the event. And this lady absolutely, like I said, has a passion for helping not only just real estate investors, but entrepreneurs really take their, as we like to say, their business, their entrepreneurship to a whole different level. So we are honored to have Stefanie LaHart join us from Boomtown Marketing, the mayor of Boomtown Marketing.
And the mayor of Boomtown Marketing.
Yep.
Scott, I'm never going to live that story down, am I? The whole me crawling under things at the event.
Would you say you're never going to live that down?
Yeah.
Well, it was a packed room. You didn't take no for an answer to get a shot. That's what I love about it.
I'm not saying it was the first time I've ever done that. And yes, I was crawling under equipment, under chairs, under tables to get my shot. And it was a very successful event. So I would proudly do it again.
Very good, very good. Well, I'm sure. I imagine you got a PowerPoint. You got to get ready to get pulled up there. Get it pulled up.
I am ready. Would you like me to just do my screen share now, or?
Yeah, let's go. Let's dive into that. And then, do you want to take questions during or after as we get going through this?
Actually, during. My presentation's only going to be about 15, maybe 20 minutes, and then I just want to talk to people. I think that's much more effective.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool. Yeah.
Perfect.
But yeah. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see where it is. Desktop. There it is. Let me know if you can see it.
There we go. Yeah, just got to maximize it.
Okay. Okay. Do you see the full screen?
Oh yeah, perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
Awesome. Yes, I picked a great background for this one. I got a little one that looked like a blueprint of a house for our social media blueprint for real estate investors. And thank you.
I'll be here. I'll moderate questions, and we'll go from there. All right. But I'm here. Okay.
Okay. Great. Great. Okay. Hold on 1 second. I just want to turn my fan over here. 1 second.
One of the great things, guys. So many of you guys reached out and mentioned that you were looking for help with social media ideas and marketing. And,
all right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. It is a beautiful Friday. We're still technically in quarantine in many states. So this might be your only level of entertainment for the day. And let me tell you, you came at a great time because I am very entertaining and Scott can attest to that. So if nothing else, you will smile and laugh a few times during this presentation. So as Scott said, my name is Stefanie and I am a professional conversationalist. In fact, Scott, I didn't even tell you, I just got new business cards made up and that's what it now says. I am a professional conversationalist. I teach people how to speak to other people and to businesses in order to get their message heard and to promote a greater understanding and also to get the communication reached to a higher level, which I think we can all agree right now is so super important. So one of the things about social media is you get the opportunity to talk to a variety of people in a variety of places at a variety of times. And sometimes you're not always sure how they're going to be receiving the message. So as a professional conversationalist, I teach businesses how to navigate those waters and make sure that their messaging is not only on point, but it's being received in the way that it is intentioned. And I do that through my home office here at Boomtown Marketing. I have been a social media strategist now for, over 15 years. It makes me sound so old when I say that. But the truth of the matter is I have been online for a very long time. And in those days, I have had the opportunity to work with not only business owners, but many entrepreneurs, teaching them how to create meaningful conversations, not only in the real estate space, but in small business spaces like fitness studios, luxury markets, like properties like the Rob Report, if you ever heard of them, leading all the way to actually developing independent coaching platforms. So I kind of cover the gamut. Once again, my focal point is always on creating those conversations that are going to help get your message across, whatever your message may be at the time. So today we are talking about, of course, real estate investing and how to get that messaging out on social media so people not only understand what it is that you're talking about and what you have to offer, but they find real value and benefit in their interactions with you. because again, you know, we don't have a lot of time anymore. I mean, did we ever have a lot of time? That's, I think, the misnomer. People are like, we're busier than ever. I feel like the farmers 300 years ago would also say they were busier than ever. But it is about making sure that your communications and your interactions are valuable. So that is what I would like to help you with today and give you some tips and tricks and skills and all of those techniques that will help you do that in a better way. So what's in it for you? So glad you asked. I'm going to help you navigate your social media presence and your workload. And my goal is to help you start thinking about your strategy for social media marketing, not only this year, but in the coming year. Because, oh my goodness, we're halfway through the year now. How did that happen? But social media will help you in your business, whether or not it is a matter of real estate investing or you're setting yourself up in a more professional authority or coaching space. It's definitely the way that we are getting our messages out. And of course, with COVID this year, we found it was more important than ever to have a presence on various social media platforms, simply because any kind of live event that you may have scheduled is now a virtual event. So making sure that you are being heard in the way that you want to is more important than ever. So with that said, of course, I have a free download for you, and we're also going to have a contest. My free download is you're going to get a free hashtag download if you go to socialstephanie.com, pop your email address in there. Your free hashtag, sorry, I'm tripping over my tongue. Your free hashtag, forget it, just go there. You know what? It's hashtags for real estate investors. Can I just say that? I told you you would be laughing. I can't even control my own tongue right now. So if you just go there, download the free hashtag checklist. You can use them in all of your social media. I'm just giving you the 50 top that are really going to help you to get your conversation heard. And by entering your email address, I am going to pick 2 lucky people in our audience today that are going to get a free one-on-one consultation with me, where I'm going to sit down and go through all of your social media channels and help you to really divest them and figure out what it is you need to be doing, what you may be doing wrong, what you're doing right, and how to move you forward. And like I said, if you enter your email address there, I'll pick 2 people from the entries that I get today, and I will work with you one-on-one. These are valued at $500 each. That is not a lie. Just ask my mom. She made me say that. And just drop your email address in there and you'll get all those goodies. Okay, what is social media marketing? In case you didn't know, social media marketing is using social media tools to create customer conversation, build brands, drive sales, and get your messaging out. Sometimes when we think of the word social media marketing, we only think of product sales. And you think, well, I don't necessarily have a physical product. Am I really marketing? Am I really social selling? And the truth of the matter is we are all social selling, not only ourselves and our knowledge and our authority these days, but also in the sense of a business. Whatever your product may be, it may be a personal service, it may be a property, it may be knowledge, but yes, you are marketing, you are selling. So as long as we all understand that, we're all selling everything. And your investor advantages really are with using social media. It's very budget conscious, and it allows you to speak directly with your customers about needs and challenges, and also helps you to find like-minded partners, maybe investment partners or other services that you can utilize within your business, which is, again, so important because we are not doing so much of the face-to-face interaction. And it is very helpful, even if you get a one-on-one recommendation, to be able to then be able to go and vet that person or that service through social media in some way. Because I will tell you this, for the most part, when you meet someone and then you tell them your business or they ask about you, they don't directly go to your website anymore. That's definitely in the past. They usually are going to look for you on whatever social media platform that they utilize most. So if they're a heavy Facebook user, they're going to be checking you out on Facebook. Same thing with Twitter, Instagram, wherever they like to be, which means you need to be there in some form. So let me just start by saying, I'm going to take the pressure off you right now. I am in no means telling you you need to be on every single platform all the time, but you do need to at least claim your name. As we say, stake your name. And this is something Scott and I have talked about before. Stake your claim on your business name as soon as possible. So if you don't already have that, that's your homework for today. Make sure you do have an account on every single social media platform, whether or not you're going to use it actively, because what you can do, and what I advise you to do, is at least give people a landing page that they could come to. So say their main interaction is always on Instagram and they want to start looking up Boomtown Marketing. even if I wasn't using Instagram a lot for my own marketing, what I would do on my Instagram page is to make sure that there were at least 6 posts on there, and 6 is always the magic number, that directs them to whatever medium I am using. So if I really want to talk to them through my website or my Facebook page or one-on-one conversations, at least if they do a search on something like Instagram, then they would land on my page and it would be able to say, hi, yeah, I am the Stephanie from Boomtown Marketing you're looking for. But you know what, come over here because this is where I hold all of my conversations. And maybe you already have a Facebook group, you could direct them there. But it's very important you do stake your claim, because if they search for you on a medium and you are not there, or someone else has kind of claimed your name and it's a different business, you don't want to run into that confusion of who is this person? Are they real? Should I trust them? So that's really your first homework today if you have not already done that. This is my favorite quote. I'm going to pop that in right now because I do love it so much. And if you have read The Alchemist, then you already know this, but I'm a firm believer in this one. When I have been searching for my treasure, I have discovered things along the way I would have never seen had I not had the courage to try things that seemed impossible for a shepherd to achieve. I mention that because I already know there are people out there listening to me saying, Stephanie, if you tell me to use Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever it is, I hate that platform and I'm not going to use it. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not forcing you to use anything, but I want you to keep an open mind about it, because as the shepherd has just pointed out to you, if you did not have the courage to try things, you would have missed the treasures along the way. So please keep an open mind. And how should you start, right? Are you guys still on board with me on this, or have I lost anybody because you're like, I'm not doing TikTok? I'll tell you a secret. I'm not doing TikTok right now, although I have claimed my name over there. Yeah,
you're doing
Scott,
great there.
Yeah,
you're
Scott,
doing
Scott, are you dancing on TikTok yet?
Yeah, first of all, nobody wants to see me move my ass on TikTok.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we're going to talk about where we're going to start right now. So the main platforms, of course, are what we call the big 4, which is Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, our LinkedIn. Here's what I want to point out about each of them very quickly. And I did grab some Monopoly boards for you because we all love the game of Monopoly. And as a real estate investor, you must feel like you're kind of playing Monopoly half the time. So for Facebook, again, one of the important parts of being there is that everyone else is already on there. If you don't already have a Facebook page for your business, set that up today. At least claim the name, fill out the profile information. You want to be able to be searchable on Facebook. If someone were to find your name, hear of your business search, services, and the only place they ever go is Facebook for their news, because they love a Facebook news feed, you better be on there so they can find you. Okay, so that is definitely something you have to do. And again, on Facebook, because everybody's on it, including your mom, your grandmother, your sister, your cousin, your banker, your baker, your postman, it's an easy way to make those personal connections, because again, you don't really know where your next business lead might come from. And it can sometimes come in the most unlikely places. I know for me, part of my business lead gen is definitely still a lot through personal referrals. And they do like to be able to connect to me on Facebook and be able to utilize my personal Facebook page and forward me to people. So, that's something important. Again, whether or not you love Facebook, you hate it, you do want to make sure you stake your claim on there so people can find you and refer your services, and also play matchmaker, which we do love in the investment business. It's like, oh, you have some money? Great. I know someone who has a great investment. And that stuff happens within the personal messengers on all of these different features. And then, of course, if you have been to any of my other talks, at Note Camp, I think we did it, Scott, a little while ago, when we were using things like Facebook for intel on mortgages and people and clients.
Okay, that was social sleuthing, was like to say. I think that was 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So a lot of what we talked about before, Scott, honestly, has been locked down, but you can still use things like Facebook and social media for intel. In fact, I mentioned it before. It is a service I still use and recommend. It is called instantcheckmate.com. If you want to start from there for your intel when you're trying to research, people you might be going into business with, it's a great starting point, because something like instantcheckmate.com will also list all of their social media profiles as well. So it's kind of like a one-stop shop just to start getting information when you need it. So before, when we were like, oh, let's dig around Facebook and stuff, that stuff's been locked down, and that is time consuming. start with one of these services that'll link the different various social media platforms for you. And then you can use that as your starting point. But I mentioned it here for Facebook because, like I said, in a previous talk, we did talk about Facebook for our social sleuthing. And yeah, they got wise to us, Scott. So anyway, again, your conversations can happen on Facebook and all of your platforms. Let me get through to Twitter. Okay, why I love Twitter. Unlike Facebook, which is what we call a locked garden, you do have to have a page, you have to be a member, you do have to log in. Twitter is still a free-for-all. You don't have to be logged in. You can see public information. It's, you know, all accessible. It's great for news. It's great for connections. It's great specifically for connecting with media and politicians, should that be something that you need to do within your business. Specifically with real estate investing, you know, there's a lot of legalities and things like that. As you well know, Twitter is a great way to source contacts that you would need in order to make sure your project is moving forward in the way that you need it to. And believe it or not, people on Twitter are much more likely and more receptive to talk about and connect with, I have found, than on any other platform. Like, Twitter still seems to be a way that people want to talk and they want to be referred and they want to find out and give information. Like, that's the big thing about Twitter. People really want to give information. So if you're finding anywhere along the way within your investments or anything you're doing in real estate that you're having either a block or things aren't moving through the way, or you need information, I'm telling you, if you go to Twitter, you can really source a lot of the decision makers that you need to get in touch with right away. And believe it or not, they're going to answer you right in the DMs, which is the direct messages, which I still find is like the kind of my secret tool, Scott, really. When I want to get in touch with the media, I pop onto Twitter. I've gotten so many of my clients' media placement just going over on Twitter. So that's just—
I love that. It's the same way. If I find that an asset manager's on there, I'll send a message, or somebody I'm trying to connect with.
Yeah.
Totally agree to that. Yeah.
Yeah, and also Twitter is a place too where it's not, you know what, people aren't utilizing it as like all personal information. So you don't have to feel like maybe you do over on Facebook where you feel like, oh, I have to reveal personal information like about my family or my likes or whatever. Twitter is strictly business sharing at this point, from, you know, what you can really see the valuable aspect of it. So if you have a business where you do produce real, and we're going to get into this later, very shareable content, or some kind of documents or white pages where you are creating information about the industry for the industry, you want to share it over at Twitter, and then share that link again with decision makers so that they know, hey, I've written this entire document about what it's like to develop real estate in this area. They're going to not only share that, but they're going to utilize that as story resources. And you might have heard this before, but, you know, building that authority for your business is a great way to build your business. And man, do I see results over in Twitter like nothing else as far as that. In fact, I'm going to say maybe even heavier than the LinkedIn space, because again, Twitter's open forum. You don't have to be logged in. You don't have to, I mean, you don't have to have an account. You can really just, you know, do your searching on the public side. So it's a great way to share information and make sure that you're getting in contact with the people that you need to be in contact with. We'll skip that participation. Really, these little slides are just pretty. We don't even need to talk about them. Instagram, okay, great visual space, ease of use, simple interface, no distractions. Let me explain to you what I mean by those 4 statements. Great visual space, it's still very much photography driven, okay? So if you have great photos of property and or things that you want to share, excellent space to use. However, you also need to make sure that you have shareable content going on in there. So in the previous times, we would have talked about, hey, just have really pretty pictures of something and people want to share that. It's really moved to a very infographic heavy space, meaning make sure that you have a graphic that is not only easy to read, but people can share it. So again, if you are establishing yourself in the real estate space as an authority leader, or you want to connect with people who are authority leaders, great space to produce this content, put it on your Instagram, very shareable, and also easy to read because of the simple interface. There's no distractions like you're looking over at Facebook where you have 1,000 different things trying to pull you in different directions. Very easy once you're in Instagram to keep you in that space and to really get your message across. One caveat, again, it is like Facebook. It is a walled garden. You must be logged in. Of course, if you go to an Instagram page right now, you'll see it and say, oh, it pops right up to me, you know, for me. But after about 3 seconds, you'll get that little pop-up that says log in. So they do want you to log in. again, because they want to make sure that they're capturing user data. But that is because Instagram, as we know, is owned by Facebook. So makes sense. Okay, and that is your activation for that. And LinkedIn, okay, LinkedIn real quickly, because then I want to get into the content, and then I'm getting right into questions. Okay, LinkedIn is our professional network. It is definitely for authority building, and also back to what we were saying before about news sourcing. So whether you are creating news, or you want to share news, or you want to discuss news that's specifically going on in the real estate investment space, LinkedIn is a place you want to be. Now, with your LinkedIn profile, it has moved way beyond, here is my resume. You don't have to list it like a resume. If you are a real estate investor and you want to list or talk about, the last 3 properties you've been involved in, or whatever it is that your business is focused on, you can list that directly in the biography place, or actually put it within the experience place. Don't feel like you have to list your jobs back to the time that you were 17. Nobody's looking for that shit, and nobody cares. So really utilize LinkedIn as a place to talk about you, your business right now. And if you need some credibility, and maybe you worked with a big client, or you had some kind of interaction with a big partnership, yes, put that in there too. But by no means is anybody looking to find out where you interned, where you started out as an assistant, especially at this level of the game where we're at. LinkedIn is not a place to drop the resume of your life, okay? So, use it as authority building only at this point. And if you are selling any kind of course or any kind of education service, you definitely want to make sure you do show that you have the background chops to prove why you know about that space. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be, I had this, and this job. You can start listing that, I took this course, or I graduated from this school, or I went through this certification, so that they start understanding, oh, I see Stefanie is an industry lead, is involved in this industry in an up-to-date way, because she's been certified through social media marketing world or something like that. So they can see that credentials. That'll help you a lot. And LinkedIn is the place you're going to drop that information. Okay. Getting on to what we should post. Shareable content. I should actually just leave my slide here, because this right now is really all that matters. Shareable content. It has to be stuff that people are going to not only comment on, that they're going to want to share, because that is the number one way that any of these social media platforms is going to start looping you into the algorithm. It is not just about, especially on something like Instagram with a pretty picture, it really has to be content that other people are going to be interested in, comment on, share, in some way utilize, and all of the social media platforms are looking for this right now. And when I say shareable content, in a very quick definition, that is content that is going to lead your audience to share and incite something in their minds and prompt an automatic response that makes them want to go and include and inform other people. So if your content is shareable, think about what that could be within the space you're in. If you are talking about property development, if you're talking about investing, what you need to do, and I'm not telling you to do this yourself, hire yourself some kind of virtual assistant for a couple bucks an hour and have them crank out shareable content. You are, of course, going to create what that's going to look like. Like, you're going to say, okay, these are the top 5 things you need to think about when you are making a property investment. Hire somebody that can create a really cool little graphic that will list that and share that everywhere. And I'm telling you, you're going to get more bang for your buck than anything out there right now. People want easy to understand and very shareable content in order to get the messaging across. And again, I do not want you to create this stuff yourself. I'm going to have a list of tools for you at the end that's going to do this for you. If you try to create this stuff yourself, you are absolutely wasting your time. You are above that in so many ways. So don't think just because something like Canva is free and easy to use, it is a waste of your time to not pay somebody a couple bucks a month to just do all that for you. So can you guys please promise me right now, you will not do the content creation yourself? Because I mentioned that because I see so many business owners getting bogged down in that. And then what happens? There's no scheduling done. There's no follow through. There's no consistency. And then you start saying social media doesn't work for me. And the number one reason is you're trying to do things you do not need to do. So your content needs to be shareable and also created by someone else. Okay. So your relevant news goes into that content. Of course, whatever is happening within your space, maybe your specific area has things that they are dealing with on a local level. Like, oh, say, hey, I'm in West Hollywood right now. We have a lot going on. I might want to talk about that within my space. If I am into real estate development or investing, this would be a great time to talk about why certain areas are more advantageous than other. Oh, do you want to develop an area that's on a really busy highway where they like to hold marches and protests? Perhaps we should talk about that. Yeah, that would be a great conversation to have within your industry right now, because certain areas might be more agreeable or just better to look at. And as an investment person, you know, that's what you're looking at. You're looking at places and opportunities that are going to be advantageous for you, that are going to be easy for you to invest in and profitable. So you don't want to put yourself into a space or an area, obviously, that's going to be bogged down with all kinds of problems. And, you know, actually not only creating relevant news, but interacting with relevant news is going to give you that content that you need to, again, have the overall reaching what we said before, shareable content. So motivational, oh, okay. I put this in here, but I have to tell you, I was a little hesitant. Back in the day, everybody was about sharing all kinds of motivational memes and feel good kind of stuff. Honestly, that stuff really gets lost in the conversation. If you feel the need to start posting feel good stuff, please drop it in your stories, where everybody has, every platform has a story now. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter even, they all have story sections. YouTube, drop it in a story. Don't drop it into your main feed. Nobody, I'm sorry, but nobody cares anymore. But sometimes you feel like, hey, I just want to, you know, spread this positive message. It's like, yeah, drop it in there and leave it in your story for 24 hours and get it off your chest. And that's all I'll say about that. But more importantly is actually your storytelling, because you know what? People do want to know your story. And, you know, I have found it in my business a lot. Scott, I know you found it in your business. As soon as people start talking to you, what do they say? Wow, how'd you get involved in this? How did you start on this? Where did you come from? Like, people want to know your story. Why do you do what you do? Why do you care? And if it just comes down to, I got involved because I found out it was a really fun and quick way to make money, they want to hear that too. Like, obviously I'm involved in social media because I love communication. I love the science of how people develop language and how that language actually furthers societies. Honestly, that's why I'm in social media. And when I tell people that, oh my God, they look at me like I'm an alien sometimes, like, oh my God, I didn't expect to hear that. I'm like, oh no, I'm like intensely interested in how communication and language is developed and how that furthers society. I mean, that's like huge, right? And then that conversation leads you into a whole interesting and deeper conversation. And honestly, it's when I'm talking to people about that more so than I'm listing my services and my prices, that they turn around to me and say, God, I really want to work with you. Like, I never thought of it that way. It's like, yeah, let's think about that. Like, how is language created? Like, how do we move it forward as a society, right? And I'm telling you, by just telling your story about why you do what you do, people are going to work with you on a more deeper level, and maybe, you know, kick over some more bucks for investment. So the last part of my talk is, before we get into the questions, is our hashtags, our tags, and our links. Again, I'm offering you that free hashtag checklist, so make sure you get that. It's specifically for real estate investors, so all the hashtags are in there, are things that you're going to want to copy and paste for all of your socials. And in regards to that, make sure any tags that you're using in any of these spaces, because it doesn't have to just be hashtags, that it's relevant to the conversation that you're having. We don't want to make them too general. Again, if you're talking about property in a specific area, make sure your tag is California property or West Hollywood property or wherever you are. So it's very specific in that way, so people can find you easier. A far-reaching tag is not going to get you any traction. It's too general and it's too overused at this point. So your hashtags, your tags, things like that, very important that you are actually more specific. And then when you get into your links and things like that, again, if you are creating content, you want to make sure you are directing people to the content you have created, because then that is in a space where you quote unquote own, okay? Don't just simply go on to something like LinkedIn and think you are being productive by forwarding articles that someone else has written in a different space. It's not helpful to you. It doesn't get you anywhere. And honestly, nobody's really reading that just in, because you know what? If it's something that was in Newsweek, they've already seen it. They don't need you to forward them that link. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm a thought leader because I sent you a Newsweek link, you know? If you wrote a commentary about something that you wrote on a blog somewhere, I would forward them that before anything else. Like your links are always have to be thought of as how is this directing traffic to the conversation that I want to have with them, okay? So don't feel like you need to just blast people with random links that are already out there. It's not going to help you. It's just going to clog up your feed, and also time consuming. Even if you have an assistant doing this, it's like, do you want them to spend their 10 hours that they're working for you on something productive, like doing shareable content, or something like just sharing links that are created by a different news service that have nothing to do with you? So make sure like you're utilizing your services in a way that's actually helpful to you across the board. So, you know, remember, everybody's time is money, whether you're getting paid $3 an hour or $300 an hour. Use that time valuably and make sure that link is coming to something that you own or that you created.
You know, do you see that a lot? Do you see that a lot, Stephanie? I mean, that's the thing I see on LinkedIn. People share an image or they share an article, and it's just linking to something offside of their real estate, you know, virtual real estate, and it's not really helping them in any form or fashion. It's helping the article or the author or the website that provide that article, right?
That's exactly it. I see that all over LinkedIn these days. Everybody wants to feel like they are, well, you know, they want to feel like they're involved in a conversation, so they're kind of bandwagon jumping, but it does not help you at all. It's just wasting your time. Even for the 2 seconds it takes you or your assistant to think about and click it, that is 2 seconds. And if you want to quantify every second of your day, if that's $2 or 2 cents, it is wasted. Like you literally just threw that money out the window. It doesn't do anything for you. So I just want people to be more thoughtful, because if you're only interacting on any platform once a day, make sure it's bang for the buck. Make sure it's something that's like truly valuable to people, you know? And so if you can direct them to a property that you own in some way, then do that, okay? I mentioned here real quickly, when should I post? I'm not going to get too deeply into this because we're going to talk about the tools at the end, because we're going to do scheduling and content creation. In fact, let me just skip through all this: consistency, schedule, consistency, high impact. I really want to get to questions, content categories, information. Hold on. I made a gigantic presentation, Scott. I always do this, and then at the end, I'm like, I have no time for questions. All right, I'm just going to leave you here. Hold on. Let me just go back here. Can I go back? No.
You're good on time, just so you know.
Oh, am I? Okay.
Yeah.
I just always feel at the end that I never give people enough time, and then I'm like, anyway, I'm going to leave that there for a second. Free hashtag download. Let me tell you about scheduling, content creation and scheduling. First of all, before we start any content creation, number one, you do have to create a social media schedule, some kind of social media calendar, so that you decide on every single day of the month what your conversation is going to be on a social media platform. Now, I am not telling you to create specific and custom content for every single day, but if you look at every day of the calendar, I want you to right now start thinking about, how am I going to utilize those times in the most productive way every day? So on Mondays, am I going to talk about what's going on in the news? Maybe Wednesdays, I'm going to share them some valuable content that I have created specifically about our industry. And then maybe on Fridays, I'm going to share some interviews. If you have a podcast or things like that, or you do video, think of your content creation and your content schedule in that way. So it's not just like you feel like I've created something and then I throw it out there to the world and, oh my God, what am I going to do next? If you're doing any kind of content creation, that is content that you will then be repurposing, which is another really key phrase here, repurposing for the lifetime of your business. So it is very smart at this point to not only create a schedule of what you're going to be posting, but also make sure you have a spreadsheet or some kind of document somewhere, so you have listed every piece of content you have ever created, so that can then be handed off again to an assistant in some manner, that they can then schedule that out over a timely period. So your conversation is always going, but the content is something that maybe you created a while ago, but you're still reusing. So that scheduling with the consistency of the content, and then making sure that it is something that you are repurposing, are your real focus points for anything that you're going to do, moving forward. Today, I really purposely am not sitting here telling you specifically what kind of content you want to create, because honestly, you're all in different ends of the real estate investing scale. Some of you are doing very specific businesses. Some of you may be heavy into investing. Some of you may be moving more into the coaching or even the in advisement kind of areas. So your content's going to look very different. But if there's one thing I can still impart with you is the content has to be relevant, valuable, and shareable, no matter what you're doing. And since it is content you are creating, again, put it on that spreadsheet so that you remember you have that content, and then make sure that that content is then shared and reshared throughout the year. If you have followed me at all on YouTube, you'll see that I've really used this time during quarantine to just bump up my YouTube production. I am like pushing out 2 brand new videos a week. And with my videos, it's not just like, hey, I published this on Monday, I'm never going to talk about it again. Nope, that's now part of my content schedule. I will be talking about that again in my business. I will be promoting it again in my business in the next week or 2, especially as things come up in the news. If the news starts talking about Instagram, yes, I'm going to make sure that I am talking about all the Instagram trainings that I have done. So again, the content that you're creating, because you are creating custom content that is relevant to specifically you and your business, this is like golden nuggets that you get to keep cashing in. Oh, I really like that visual. I got to put that in my next slideshow. It's literally like you're finding gold, or you're creating gold, and then you're getting to spend that. So think of your content like that. You don't want to waste your time. You want to make sure it's something that people are really interested in, and it is something that you can reuse. And that is going to take you through the whole something that I can create, schedule, repurpose, and then utilize for my business to build it in the way that I need it to be built. And I'm going to give you time after this to ask me specific questions about whatever your business end is. And, you know, we can talk it through, like what would that actual content look at? I think that that would be better than me just showing you random examples of something maybe that doesn't have to do with your business. So let me go down to, the one other thing I wanted to talk about content was this. When you are starting to decide about the kind of content that you want to create, and you might be sitting there now already thinking, well, I don't know what I want to create, or maybe I kind of have an idea, but I don't have the time. Here's the things I want you to do. Number 1, I want you to make a list of your top 5 competitors or comparables in your space and see what kind of content they have created in the last 3 months and they have posted. I don't want you to go back any further than 3 months. Social media changes all the time. See what these people have created and what kind of response they've given. And I want you to just do a really quick kind of glance through. If you're like, I don't really want to have to dig into people's social media, don't worry about it. There's awesome free tools out there that'll do it for you. There's many tools, like Social Bakers is one that I use, socialbakers.com. You can go in and pop in any competitor's social media channel in there, and it'll give you a whole report of what their stats are. So you can see how their posts are doing. Scott, I haven't even told you about this stuff yet. And actually, Facebook allows within your insights to drop your competitors in there. So you can just go and see what kind of their content's really being responded to, or what kind of content's working, so that moving forward, and honestly, this should take you no more than an hour of your time to just be able to really quickly glance, be like, all right, I see that worked. That didn't work. Oh, they mentioned that. That's a good thing I'd want to talk about in my business. Or, you know what, they mentioned that, but I don't really want to bring that up as a topic. I'm going to leave that out. And very quickly, you'll be able to start seeing this is the kind of stuff I want to create. This is what I think is valuable. And not only that, you'll be able to start seeing these are the kind of people that I'd want to attract to my business. So if I'm talking about real estate investing in a specific area of a specific style, then I'm going to use the language and the visuals that are going to attract those people. So again, it's not so general that it's suddenly it's just too, I guess, just too mass media, and then you can't actually find what you want. You know, you don't want to be too part of the general space. You definitely want to niche it down. So again, the first thing you want to do is just take a look at your top 5 competitors or comparables in your space and see what they've been doing. Give yourself a quick overview and start jotting down some notes about what you could do. So I said 3 months is a good idea. I wouldn't go any further back than that. You want to note the high engagement that they've had on the channels, what they're kind of doing, what's failing. And then with that, again, it's really going to help to inspire you about what you could do. I knew for me, for my business, when I really was like, I've got to start marketing more, I've got to start reaching out to more people, or what I want to do, because I'm actually moving more into the coaching space. I'm like, I've got to start creating content that people are going to be searching for. So I decided I'm going to do that on YouTube. I'm going to create this kind of videos. I looked at what people similar to me were doing, the style they were doing it in, and start there, you know, because at least it gives you a launch pad. And then once you do it, you get comfortable, or you get maybe a little bit more confident with what you're doing. You could say, all right, this is really how I speak, or this is really how I want to put it out. And feel free to make that pivot. You are not locked into anything. It's just like cutting our hair, Scott, right? If I want to shave my head, I get to shave my head and grow it back the way I want to grow it.
Well, that's the beautiful thing too, is you've got to have a business Facebook page really to see the insights of that stuff, and sharing, tracking your competitors' Facebook pages to see what kind of download. And that's the thing I always crack up. I've pulled up a lot of the different real estate, the major big, I guess you say the big guys, the big companies, and most of them aren't doing hardly anything at all. That's the thing that surprises me. There's a few, and that's great, but I see a lot of them. Like, well, that's why I harp on this so much over the last, since we started doing this, is if you're doing something, you're really standing out above the crowd, because there's so few people being consistent and sharing stuff on a regular basis.
Absolutely. Consistency is the key. If you take one thing away from this, is if you only want to be on one social media platform, like interacting on it, that's fine. You know, what I said in the beginning about making sure you're claiming your space, do that, direct them towards this other platform. If you're like, you know what, I'm all in over on Twitter or LinkedIn, direct all your social media over there. At least if they're searching for you on another platform, if they're really interested in you, they'll go and find you over there, because it's the consistency of it, like Scott just said. So with that said, questions. What have you guys got for me? I am yours, and please make sure you go and do the free #download, because I am choosing 2 people to get an hour of my time where you get to pick my brain and everything I know about neurosciences, quantum physics, and how it relates to social media.
Dan asked the question, because I don't recognize this version of the Monopoly board. Is that a new version of the game?
Wait, was it my foreign language ones? I was just, come on, I was just pulling images as best I could, my darlings. I know some of them were kind of funny.
Right. You know, I think it was the first slide with the pass and collect money on a regular basis. So let's talk about this. If somebody's setting things up, you mentioned about, hey, going out and claiming those platforms. Is there an easy tool to find out what's available, or to make sure that they're using the right name? Because we all know, hey, somebody has a long name, it's not going to work for your social media. Is there a tool that you'd recommend for people to use to go out and find what's available, what's not available before they get into naming?
You know what, Scott? There's not a tool that I am aware of that will do that. Check it across the board. That doesn't mean that there isn't one out there. I just tend to do things kind of like a more organic way with that stuff. But I do want to touch back with what you just said. You want to make sure it is something that will fit in all the spaces. I will use myself as an example, and something I regret from the beginning. I started branding myself Boomtown Marketing, and that's my handle everywhere until I got to Twitter. And then it's Boomtown Biz, which at first I was like, well, that's not a big problem. However, people are lazy now, and they expect it to be the same name everywhere. Yep. And it's also harder. So if you have to shorten your business name to just merely a couple of letters, maybe it's like your initials. So for me, instead of Boomtown Marketing, it was SJL Market, right? And that's everywhere. It's better, because then they could find that small name everywhere the same way. So I would really, try to find the most shortened version of whatever you want to start branding yourself with. And maybe a good idea, actually, Scott, is to start on Twitter, since they still have the limit. That's the best. And then you found it with yours. I mean, you did really well with one Scott Carson. I mean, that fits everywhere.
One Scott Carson, and We Close Notes. They're small enough. We were pretty good. But I used there's a tool that I use called NameCheck, namecheck.com.
Oh, okay.
And I'll type in the URL, what the website will be, and it'll tell me what user handles are available on Twitter, or it literally lights them up if they're green if they're available, or yellow it's too long, or red if somebody else is using it. So it allows for it to be a little bit uniform across the place. Because I've seen, like you said, people use one thing and it's too long on Twitter, too long on Instagram.
Yes.
You know, the thing about I'll tell you this with my podcast, the Note Closers show, I was gonna call it the Note Show, you know, because I thought, oh yeah, the Note Show. Well, there's somebody else who has the Note Show out there. I'm like, oh shit, I already created a Twitter account and other things for it. I got to go back and rename it there for you. But we had a good question. Matrice asked a really great question. I think a lot of people are feeling. He goes, because I don't have my own business at this moment, but I want to get into notes and maybe buying commercial properties and using my skills and knowledge in construction that I've incurred over the years. So my question is, how do I get my name out there in the industry? So what's a couple steps would you tell Matrice to start doing and start working on that?
Everything that we just talked about from a business standpoint, do it from a personal brand building standpoint. So I would utilize your name as your business name. So for me, if I was in your space, and by the way, I love that segue of what you just said about having the construction background and then getting in. Scott, did you love that?
I loved it.
Oh my God, you could jump on that. Be like the construction, the investing construction guy or whatever it is, but just utilize your name as your business. You don't have to do it from a business standpoint. Think about yourself as the business, and everything that I just said still pertains to the same.
And the thing is, I had actually a conversation with Mark Victor Hansen from Chicken Soup for the Soul. Actually, yesterday we were talking on the phone, I had him on the podcast about a week ago, and he called me. We were visiting. He's like, everybody has IP, intellectual property of some sort. We're experts at something.
Yes.
And Matrice, you just stated your intellectual property. So start doing little videos. Start doing selfies. You know, little selfie video here you can post on YouTube, other places, on little nuggets in the construction industry and how they relate to real estate, how it relates to the note business. And start like Stefanie said, start building that brand with what you got going on.
Yeah, I would definitely remember LinkedIn now allows video like that too. You can do live video on LinkedIn too. And if you want to just, again, because we want repurposable content, think about how, you know, where you can create something that you will then be able to repurpose in the best way. So maybe you do just go on the LinkedIn, you start sharing some of your knowledge, and also make sure with any content that you're creating, specifically with something like that, that you have an outline of your talking points, because you can't get rambly. I mean, you really only have a few minutes. Anybody's going to watch anything on any of these platforms. Something like YouTube allows you to do longer form content, but honestly, if you're on something like LinkedIn or you're doing any kind of live, you need 2 minutes and that's it. So make sure you're talking in very succinct points and then doing it that. But I would say for him, get on LinkedIn and start talking about what you know. People are going to start, first of all, interviewing the hell out of him because everybody needs interviews. And I mean, I'm already interested in what he does.
Right. Well, that's the thing. You can always upload videos of 10 minutes or less right now on LinkedIn. You know, LinkedIn Live's not open to everybody, but 10 minutes or less. I mean, 2 minutes. You know, for most people can get what they got across in the nugget in 2 minutes, and that does really well. I mean, I've got thousands of videos, and, you know, we do hour-long webinars, which I could easily split up into 5 sessions that would do better than the long hour session. It's just a matter of editing it. But
right. But with something like LinkedIn, maybe LinkedIn Live's not available to you. However, you can create content right through LinkedIn, like with your phone, you know, you can click that video button and record it and it goes right up to LinkedIn, and then you can download it and use it. So it's, I mean, it's essentially kind of live, just without people like, you know, talking back at you right away, and then your content's there and then you can reshare it and, you know, go for the gold. Just have good lighting. Have good lighting.
Social Light is running a discount right now. I cracked, it was like a 20% discount on the ring lights here is what I have in front of me.
You mean a ring light like that?
Yeah. I have exactly the same one.
Everybody go out right now and buy yourself a ring light. You will never, ever regret it. No, I have a very bright window right here. And if I didn't have my ring light on.
I have a mini one.
Awesome, yeah. But I have a very, very bright window right here. And if I turn this light off, half of my face would be like the moon. It would be like entirely dark.
Same way here. I have a light.
Your face up.
I have a window over here, so I have the light on. I even had 2 lamps here with the lampshades off just in case you can start seeing the shadow here. But
yes, if there's one thing I'll say, get some light on your face.
Yeah, face the light. Not with a light to your back. That's one of the most important things when you're doing your video. Now, Alex asked a good question I think a lot of people are scared of. And you've won something before, and I kind of talk about that in a second here. But Alex asked a question, how can you balance keeping your life somewhat private while promoting your business on social media if you're worried about that?
Actually, it's very easy. You get to share what you want to share. And by no means are you obligated to share your entire personal life. If you don't want to put your kids and your wife or your husband or your dog on, you don't have to. If you notice, Scott, on my Facebook page, my personal page, it's almost like I'm an orphan. You never hear anything about my family ever. Because I'm like, I don't really need to share that kind. And it's funny because my sisters actually have now gotten out of Facebook because they're kind of bored with it. But they used to tag me in all kinds of stuff. But I just turned that off so it doesn't show up on my page. I don't feel comfortable with people knowing everything about my life. So I share what I am comfortable with. I share that I run and I do marathons, which I'm super comfortable with. But you don't have to share what you don't want. Listen, see, I think people get confused because they think, oh, you have to really like share so people trust you. You just have to be a real person. Like you have to genuinely be an honest, real person, and then people will want to work with you. And you share what you want. You know, you don't have to share whatever you don't want. Scott, go look at my page. It's like I'm an orphan.
Well, I would agree to that. I'd crack up because I would say, well, you do share your running and you're running the marathon. You
but
qualify.
You never hear about my family. It's like you never know I had sisters or nieces or nephew.
The only thing I heard about was your mom when you had your mom on an interview one time.
Yeah.
She was on the couch behind you. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Exactly. That's like the only time. But I mean, obviously we all have family. Nobody hatches out of an egg. But I don't feel personally comfortable saying like stuff. I have like young nephews. I'm not putting their faces online.
Right. Yeah, you're big on the running. You share your running. You're big about pit bull.
Yes.
You know, adoptions.
I'm big about because I work with a pit bull rescue. Yes. Again, it's the stuff I am comfortable sharing with people about my life. And that is what I'm going to tell everybody out there. Only share what makes you comfortable. You are by no means obligated to talk about your personal life and put your kids and your life and your home. In fact, Scott, you know, I'm a big privacy proponent. Please stop showing the insides of your houses and your offices. Find a backdrop like Scott. Find a wall like me.
Why is that?
Because that's a huge security problem. You know, when people know, because you don't know who would be viewing that content. If you put it onto a public space, which is what all social media is, you don't know what the end user could do with the knowledge. Do they see the computer system they use? Do they see the phone system you use? Something that Scott and I did not touch about in the beginning of my presentation is I actually compete in social engineering competitions. Yes. Where I specifically go into competitions where we are looking for what we call open source intelligence gathering, trying to find information that we could find out about people and businesses that could then be used in what we call an intel attack. And no, I am not doing it from an intel attack way, but I'm utilizing it as a way to teach businesses about safety. And I actually compete in a very large competition that's part of DEF CON, which is the largest hacking competition in the world. Unfortunately, Scott canceled this year because Vegas. But, you know, it did really open my eyes to just little things that could be potentially harmful to you in a way that you did not intend. You know, so I would really, really keep my privacy as much as possible. If you're doing video, if you want to do something live, find an area in your home or your office where it is very limited what is behind you so that the information is also limited. Like right now, you're like, oh, Stephanie's sitting in front of a wall, but you didn't expect to see this, the pit bull laying next to me. So before you break into my house, you might want to wonder what's in the rest of this house.
What are you seeing?
I told you you'd be entertained.
Totally. It's like, are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
Right. So one of the great things is keeping some of the person, but also sharing some of your interests. It's okay to share the interests in the group so they identify with your, because people like to identify with stories. We talk about storytelling, and the uniqueness of who you are will attract people into it. Like, you know, we found in a lot of our audience, we have a lot of people that used to play in a band. They're musically inclined. So if they're sharing that passion, like attracts like. Can we agree to that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Share your interests. That's actually a great idea there. Like if that's your bar, then like, yeah, share your interest, share whatever the interest is, but just personal doesn't mean I'm showing you personal, you know, like where I live, where I sleep, what my security system is. But yeah, the things like interest are great. Scott, are you changing your background? What are you doing over there?
Somebody was asking me, Dan was asking me, is it, you love my background? And what it is, let me just stand up because it's the green screen with Zoom.
Yeah, it is.
I just have a green screen gloss.
Yeah.
And so depending on the light, well, it's picking up what that's a weird thing that it did that there because it's showing the islands on my shirt now.
Yeah, and now that Zoom has the virtual backgrounds, you can
it's so easy, but you gotta have a solid spot. Yeah, you're gonna be in there.
I'm in space.
You know, here we go. I'll be at Mars. Why is it not showing my background? And it's because it's getting a little darker in here. If I turn the lights up, it'll work. But
I like that I'm in space.
But that's the thing, this is funny. I'm going to do this.
No, Scott, you need a different background. That looks bad.
I need a very different background.
That looks bad.
I'm going to go back to Austin.
But do you guys understand what I'm saying about you get to choose what you're going to share, and don't look to anyone else and use them as kind of a metric of what you want to do. You share to the comfort level you are comfortable with. If you want to share your religion because that's a big part of your life and you want to work with people who have that specific maybe religious or political intentions, then by all means. But if you also on the opposite side do not want to define yourself by that, then don't share that kind of stuff. So everybody's entitled to their privacy to the level that they feel comfortable with.
Yeah, and that's the thing is sharing it, set up and be consistent, set up a calendar, sharing the things that are going on. I mean, like today's National Donut Day. If you can't think of anything else to share, you could do the national, whatever day it is, National Margarita Day, National Donut Day. You got excited there, didn't you?
I did. I love donuts. I'm a runner, so carbs are my friend. I do not even realize. But yeah, I mean, you can look at things like that. And honestly, Scott, I used to tell people stuff like that. It's a little bandwagoning thing. I don't know if it has a lot of value. Some fun things like maybe like, yeah, I want to share National Donut Day. And again, maybe if it ties in with my personal brand, like, hey, I'm a runner, so I'm going to talk about carbs, maybe. But just in general, to jump on every single thing like that, you get lost in the conversation. It doesn't really help. And it's not like people are going to feel closer to you. Because I mean, who doesn't like National Pizza Day? I've never met a person in my life who goes, ugh, pizza, I hate that.
Well, the only person I know that was somebody who used to own a pizza parlor.
Oh, well, it's not they don't like pizza. They just don't like running a pizza parlor.
Yeah, exactly there. But here's the thing. We talk about all the different social platforms, and you said something earlier on. We don't want people getting all confused, like, oh, my God, I got to run and try to do everything. No. Focus on where your people are at, people that you want to identify. I'll give you an example.
Right.
I have an Instagram account and we post there, but that's more for marketing the podcast. It doesn't really, I don't see a lot of engagement on the real estate investment side. I have a little bit older avatar, I do get the most from LinkedIn, and then Twitter is really being the second one. Well, I'm sorry. LinkedIn and YouTube are really neck to neck on a lot of the things because we crank out content on a regular basis to just share what's going on. But the shorter video
content.
Consistent content. Yeah, very consistent. Yeah. But just started sharing videos, and I've gone back here recently and just started going back to some of the older deals that we've done. Went and took a picture of the property. I didn't have to stand out inside of it in 100-degree heat. I just took a picture, made it the background, and just started talking about the details of that asset.
I love that.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. And that's a great idea specifically for the space that our audience is in right now. If you can talk about, property that's been developed or what happened with that, or, that's awesome to be able to show that because that's a story that you can tell. And also I want to say with that shareable content, having something that's very searchable, which I didn't really mention too much, but having stuff that's very searchable is going to give you so much traffic. Scott, this. Having a podcast is great. Having a transcript of the podcast is gold. Having a video is great. Having a transcript of the video, because remember, Google can only search words. They can search the description of an image. They can search the description of a video, but Google doesn't look at stuff initially in that content form for more than words. So start there.
Yeah, and there are services like Timmy, which is like 25 cents a minute if you're doing a 2-minute video. 50 cents, you can have a full transcription for the most part, or rev.com.
Scott, wait, are you using Descript yet?
I've messed around with it a little bit, not for the most part.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's my new best friend.
And tell us about that.
So Descript is a great way to, well, first of all, Descript is like, it's a monster. You can actually go on and record your podcast and your video in there and then have it transcribed, have it like created into shareable. It's a monster. In fact, Scott, we should do a whole like little training just on Descript. That's how hot I am with it right now.
Okay.
Like, I can't even go into all the stuff that it does right now because I'm seeing within the next 6 months that it really becomes like a major content creation tool for people. I mean, I just found out about it maybe a couple months ago. I don't even know when it was launched, but man, is it great for transcripts.
Cool. I'll have to take a look at it.
And they have a free version.
There you go. Descript.com, right?
Descript.com.
Descript there. I'm a huge fan of wave.video as well. You know, you and I both talk about Canva on a regular basis.
Right. Canva's great for content creation. Allows you to create really easy graphics in there. Again, I didn't want to get too much into that because I do not want your people creating their own content. I want them desperately to hire someone to do this for them. Please go on any of the services. What's it called? Indeed, Upwork. I use Upwork all the time to get really great people. And remember, by you hiring someone else, you are actually helping the global economy. Please think of it that way. And it's true, you know, like hire somebody else and let them make some money. And then like your time should be utilized in this other way. I have a friend that came to me and he's all like, I want to do a podcast. And I gave him all this information and then he wanted me to help him with it. And then I gave him like, you know, kind of my price list and he's like, oh, I'm not really making it. He did the whole thing that a lot of entrepreneurs starting out do. I don't want to spend my money on that. So he spent all of his time doing it. Literally took him 50 hours to put together what he needed to do. And then I'm like, great. What would your 50 hours billable been worth? Right? It's not worth it.
Yeah, we just we've talked about that a couple of times. Knowing what your value is, knowing what your hourly, knowing what your hourly rate needs to come down when you break it down into 40 hours per week for your annual income aspect of things. You know.
Well, yeah, we all know that right now.
Yeah, and then figuring out what to. Yeah, exactly. And there's a guy, Bob LaChance, who's on there. So if you're doing $10 an hour activities, you're gonna have a $10 an hour bank account.
Exactly. And like I said, you know, considering so many people have been out of work, there are a lot of people that are really looking to pick up some kind of like smaller income just to have income coming in. Like, think of it. It is like actually your duty towards humanity at this point. Hire somebody to do this job and let them get some income coming in. And then you go and build your business in the way. Cause you know, if you have skills that are put in a different way, then do that. You know, me sitting there playing on Canva all day is not helpful to people. Me holding coaching sessions and things like this is helpful to people.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more there. Share what your expertise is. Get out there, share it on a regular basis, consistently, whether it's once a week, twice a week. You know, what do you kind of see as being, I won't say ideal because we know it's gonna be a little bit different, but how often should people be sharing content? Let's talk about the social media platforms and then maybe video, then maybe email, because that's all they'll kind of go together, right, Stefanie?
Yeah. Well, you know, back in the day, the whole thought was you have to share something every single day, multiple times a day. As a business owner, you can really do a very, very good job sharing 2 to 3 pieces of content a week. Because remember, those 2 to 3 pieces of content, you're going to be sharing the same content across whatever social media platforms you're utilizing, but just posting them out a couple times a week and you're fine. Again, because there is stories now, which are 24-hour updates. You can have those like, you know, with fresh content kind of going on a 24-hour basis. Again, you're not doing it yourself. Someone's scheduling that for you, just to kind of keep the algorithm happy and the algorithm fed, as we say. But 2 to 3 times a week, you're good with your content because now your content's actually valuable. And remember, if you're creating shareable content, the goal is to have other people do the work for you and share it. Social media wants engagement. They want sharing. Even if you only created 1 piece of content a week, you did 1 infogram a week, right? Just 1. And everybody else shares it because it's like so powerful and meaningful. And it all leads back to you. That's like 1 hour of social media a week. That's the goal of doing stuff, as you know, with the podcast and YouTube. I create the content. Other people now reshare it for me. I don't have to keep resharing. I don't have to keep talking about it. I mean, it could be part of my schedule. But once I create that 1 video, that 1 podcast, my job is done.
Yep. That's so true. Is you don't, and that's the thing. A lot of people, we ask people ahead of time, what are they trying to do? And some people are like, I need to find the motivation. I need to take action. We're not talking about coming up with a 30-day calendar. One piece of content a week, once every other day, or once a day, something is shareable. It could be what you're working on now, what you're learning today. What are the best quotes from Note Camp could be a nice post you guys could post out there. You throw back Tuesday, throwback Thursdays. Hey, to a trip you traveled on. Like, hey, I see Jerry Briggs. Hey, he went to Europe or Egypt and the pyramids. Distressed debt. The pyramids are on sale. Who knows?
Right.
Kind of funny stuff like that.
Again, sharing stuff you're comfortable with. So if you want to share stuff only in the business sense, and share conferences you've been at or things like that, like, anything we've been at, it's like, I'll reshare that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. What other questions, guys and gals? What questions do you have for Stefanie LaHart, the mayor of Boomtown?
Professional conversationalist.
I love it. You're you've got have you convinced your co-host of your podcast to do more video yet?
No, actually, I'm changing my whole podcast. My podcast is now the Social Stefanie Show, which I'm about to launch, and it is going to be all about just social media marketing. And because, like I said in the beginning of this, my intense interest and studies now on language and communication and how our brains actually process that information. And oh my God, Scott, I'm like the biggest neuroscience nerd now. You have no idea. I just can't even stop talking about it. Yeah. And so that's more where I've kind of moved. She's gotten very busy in her other aspects of business and stuff like that. So True Digital Podcast will be morphing into the Social Stefanie Show.
Okay. So you're just changing the name and doing a rebrand. You're not launching a new show.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
True Digital Talk is the name of where it stands at right now, or Social Stefanie here in the next few weeks.
Social Stefanie.
Yeah.
And And again, I would just go back to what you and I touched on before, making sure when you're picking a name for something that it's a name that maybe fits into all the social spaces, and be descriptive in what you're doing. Don't be too clever. Like True Digital Talk was way too clever and too long of an explanation. Note Camp is pretty explanatory, if you talk to anybody in real estate or property and you say a note, they're like, I know what that means.
And we broke it down with the camp to being content, actions, marketing, and profits. Those are four things that originally came from. So
So don't worry so much about cleverness. Let's just go with clarity.
Yeah.
Clarity over cleverness.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is you want to be able to get the point across in 30 seconds.
Exactly.
That's what do you focus on? What's your business about? Now, when we've got a speaker later on, I'll talk about not using specific words in your entities and things like that to be fundable. That's a different aspect of things. But when you're talking, when you're marketing, as you say, your keywords, your posts, your video titles and stuff like that, get direct to the point and see because what people are searching for, and that's the thing about, if you're going to post something, think about who you're going to see and what you want to see. And that would relegate to what the title should be, or the hashtags that you're using in your post, correct?
Right. Like, don't worry about getting all clickbaity. I know clickbaity was a big thing for a while, and people would be very clever with these titles that didn't really have anything to do with what they're, it's like, be clear about what you're talking about. Be honest about it. If you're writing about something that other people might consider boring, but your industry is super intensely interested in, then just use that in your title. So then it's, again, more searchable to Google.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think you've said this before, and I just want to bring it because we've got a lot of new people on here, especially posting now that LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram have the hashtags, even Facebook's into it. How many hashtags are too much?
Wait, hold on. I thought I put that somewhere. I think it's in my notes. No, because I will tell you, I do have a rule for hashtags. Hold on, let me pull my notes back. Maybe
I stepped away when you said that in the beginning. I apologize if I did.
No, I'm just trying to see where I know I wrote a note to myself. Well, I remember it anyway. I don't need my notes. Okay, so here's the general rule. Instagram does allow up to 30 hashtags, and I'm going to say you're good with 15. I don't think you have to use all 30. If you're using targeted ones, again, we don't want to use super general ones. If you're living in California, me hashtagging sunny does nothing for me, right? So me hashtagging beach does nothing for me. Me hashtagging beach rental property, yes, right? So be more specific. So I'm going to say Instagram 15, just because you can use so many, but make sure they're targeted. If you only need to say what you need to say in 5, just use 5. Facebook, you're going to get the best result from 3 hashtags. Twitter, because you have such limited space with where your actual content is, because your hashtag is part of your actual allocation of characters. Think about trying to get 2 really specific good hashtags. So let's say 2 on Twitter. And then on LinkedIn, I like 8 or less. Again, they all just have to be targeted. It has to be niched.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else, it's just a waste of time. And
right. And there's also there's a most people don't know this. I learned this last time you shared this. There are actually hashtags that are banned that will actually, your post won't get any viewage, right?
Which hashtags are you thinking about?
Well, I don't know. I thought it was you that shared that with me, that there are specific hashtags that they won't share your post as much. Like, I was surprised, like Instagram.
I think, jobs. No, I think, I know what it is. They're not banned. Here's the thing. Hashtags that are too general. So if you are using hashtag happy, hashtag sunshine, it's not that they're banned. It's just that Instagram doesn't care about them. The search engines don't care about them. They just won't give you any leverage. You'll be dumped into the hashtag, like, cavern. The hashtag pit of despair, we'll call it. And in fact, they're so overused, you can right now do a test. Go try and hashtag something happy and see if you can even find it in the discovery feed anywhere. It's so buried so immediately. That's what that is. If they're not banned, they're just totally useless.
Into the void, the hashtag
Into void. The hashtag void. Wait, what was it in the pit of despair? What's the movie that I can't think of with the kid and the horse in the pit of despair? You know what I'm talking about. And the horse dies in the pit of despair. Anyway, the bog of despair or something.
No, it's a happy movie.
No, it's the movie with the flying dragon. Never ending story. There you go.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yes, that's where your hashtag's going to end up, with that horse. Our conversation just went off the rails.
We went all over the place there.
I am not advocating horse abuse in any way. I am also a member of PETA and an animal rights activist, and I do share that with people. So again, what I'm comfortable with sharing is stuff like that. If you are not comfortable with sharing things like that, then don't share them.
There you go. Exactly. What's the best way for people to reach out to you and your team, Stefanie, to work with you or see about hiring your team out to help them out with their stuff?
Yes. Okay. So I am available on every social media platform. Again, most places you can find me at Boomtown Marketing, except for Twitter, which is Boomtown Biz. But the good news is, Scott, my parents gifted me with a very unique name. So if you just Google my name, you can find me everywhere.
Yeah.
I own the Stefanie LaHart name.
Yeah. You're right about that. Stefanie LaHart.
Yes, but I also went out and already registered the alternative spelling of Stefanie. So you can also find me if you try to spell it with a PH, as is the more traditional way that my mother decided I was not going to be traditional. And but you can find me on all the social media. If you just Google Boomtown Marketing, you would find me there as well. And again, I do, invite you to download that free hashtag list. If you do that, you get the hashtag list and you get put into the drawing to win a free hour with me. So, utilize that. Even if you're not sure what you're doing with your business right now, it's like we can talk you through all of that.
That's a great point there. And once again, Stefanie, thank you for coming on and having fun here on Note Camp with everybody and really giving and sharing a lot of your knowledge and passion for helping entrepreneurs succeed out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Scott. And I really hope it's sometime in the near future that we can actually physically see each other in person again.
Yeah, I know, right?
You and your Stefanie, because I'm like, God, when is everybody going to get together now?
And that's the thing. You didn't make it to Podfest, so we're like, oh, did get a chance to see her on our annual basis at least once or twice, or are you maybe podcast moving in Dallas later on in the year? Who knows, right?
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's great to, talking to you guys again, and please feel free to reach out to me and I will help you as much as I can.
Great then. Thanks, Stefanie. Appreciate it.